Hello everyone, today I'll be teaching you how to play the low notes on the flute, and specifically, how do you play these low notes loudly? Maybe your low notes sound kind of dead or they're not really coming out, like this. And you want them to speak a little easier, maybe have a juicier, edgier sound, and of course be louder as well. So my first tip that I have is dropping your jaw. And this isn't just about, kind of doing that sort of thing. I mean, no one can really play with their jaw so far down, but just thinking about having your jaw placed a little bit lower and also a little bit further back. It's kind of the inverse of the high register where you kind of want to bring your chin forward a little bit and kind of blow the air up. The low register is really all about blowing the air down into the flute, so doing anything you can to let that happen will help. This will make your face a little bit longer, and this will help you resonate. And this will also change the vowel shape that you're creating. In flute playing, vowel shapes drastically change the sound that you're producing. So for the low register, I like to think of it as a O sound instead of a E sound that some people try to have. Making this O vowel shape in our mouth actually makes everything taller inside of our mouth as well, and this will increase resonance in your playing. It's important to keep in mind when dropping your jaw or bringing everything back and down, you don't want to drop your head. Some people, when trying to get the low notes out, they really lower their head, and this will just make you play into the floor, which will actually make you quieter to the audience perspective. You don't want to be playing to the floor, you want to be playing out to the audience. So once again, you're thinking about keeping your forehead where it normally is, but just dropping your jaw a little bit and bringing it back. And this will really help you get your low notes to speak. My second tip that I have is using your top lip to point the air down. As I said before, the low register is all about getting your air as far down as you possibly can in the flute, and your top lip is a crucial element to make this happen. Some people recommend keeping a sort of flat embouchure and kind of bringing your corners back. This can help you get a better sound on the low notes, but I think what's really important is to make sure that your bottom lip is not in the way of your top lip. Some people's bottom lips stick out, mine does a little bit, and especially if you have bigger lips, this can really block your airstream from going down into the hole where it should go. So now you can see this visually with my flute. The hole is here, and you want your top lip to go up and over your bottom lip so it can direct the air down into the hole. So with this, it's really important to make sure that you're actually not covering the hole with your bottom lip. And this is really easy to do, especially if you're trying to get a really dark, edgy sound. You kind of are tempted to turn in. And I think turning in is great for the high register and some of the middle register as well. But turning in too much, especially when the flute is down lower on your face, this will just make the hole almost completely gone, and your top lip won't have any hole to shoot the air down into. This will really restrict your sound, really make you a lot quieter and a lot tighter sounding. I suggest you look at this picture that I took recently from Quantz's book on playing the flute. He was a master flute player from hundreds of years ago, and he kind of realized that there should kind of be different levels of how much the hole is covered based on which octave you're playing in. And obviously you don't want to be doing any rapid movement when going between the octaves, but in the low register especially, you want to make sure that the hole is open, not being covered by anything, so that you can shoot the air down. And in this description by Quantz, you can see that the bottom line is the line where you want your bottom lip to be for the low register. And it's kind of easy to think about this. The lower the note is, the lower your bottom lip should be, and the higher the note is, the higher your bottom lip should be. I really suggest reading Quantz's book on playing the flute. There's so much valuable information in there. Even so, if you need to turn the flute in a lot to get a better sound, I would recommend putting the flute higher on your face, because if it's higher on your bottom lip, then the bottom lip won't cover it as much and you still will be able to roll in. This should kind of be used as a last resort. My next tip is to make a small aperture hole, and this is the opening of your lips. And to make it smaller, all you really have to do is just bring your lips closer together. I wouldn't recommend a kissy sort of face where you're like, that's not going to work in playing the flute. And obviously you're shooting your bottom lip out, which will cover the hole. So keep your lips back, but you need to make sure that your lips aren't so wide open. You can tell that if I open my lips too wide and I try to play a low note, I'm blowing a lot of air, but not a lot of air is going into the flute because the aperture is too wide and the air is just kind of going everywhere instead of in the exact right spot that it needs to go. So making this aperture smaller will direct the air in the right direction, and it will also make the airspeed faster. A nice way to think about this is water running through a hose. If you had a hose and you kind of blocked off with your thumb part of the opening that the water is coming out, and the hose has the same pressure, it has the same speed of water coming out of it, the water will actually be forced to come out even faster because the opening is smaller. And this is the same sort of effect with playing the flute. Your air is going to remain constant. There's only so much air that you can blow into the flute, but to make it go even faster, you can kind of make your embouchure a little bit smaller, and this will force the air to increase pressure and increase speed. This is also very important in making sure you don't go flat in the low register. If you're not using enough air, your sound will really decay and go down in pitch, and that's not what you want, especially in the low register. Now, something that I see a lot that's something you shouldn't do is press the flute so much into your face. People are really stressed about low notes, and understandably, they're hard to get out sometimes. But if you're pressing the flute into your face, this actually just makes you cover even more, because then your lip plate is just even further into your chin while your bottom lip is covering even more of the hole. And of course, as we learned earlier, covering is not what you want in the low register. So I know it can be stressful, but keeping calm is really important, and that will help you get the notes out. It's also important to remember to relax your face. Our lip muscles, we have a lot of them, and they all need to be engaged, but they don't need to be tense. Some people are trying to have the edgiest sound, the loudest sound, and just trying so hard is actually making things worse for you. So I would recommend always trying to think about relaxing every part of your body when you're playing, but only engaging what you need to make a good sound. So to practice all of this on the flute, what you'll want to do is play descending long tones. I recommend Moises de la Sonorité exercises. And the most important thing with this is while you're descending, you need to keep the volume and the sound quality the same. It can be easy when you're descending on the flute to get an airier sound because you're so focused on having a loud sound that the sound quality kind of gets put in the background. But I think that it is important to have a consistent sound quality in all registers. So fight the temptation to get an airier sound when you go into the low notes. And the higher up in the octave that you start, that'll actually be better because higher notes tend to be louder. So if you want a good comparison between your high notes and your low notes, you can start even higher. Notice how every note is the same volume and the same sound quality. This is what should be desired. You don't want to end up sounding like this. And if you're going to play, especially in an orchestra or any ensemble setting, your low notes really need to be loud because they're not going to be heard as much as the high notes. So if you've tried all of this and your low notes still don't really speak, they don't come out very easily, or you're not getting them out at all, you may want to go to a music shop, a flute repair technician, because your pads might be leaking or some of the keys might not be coming down completely. If you see this, I press one key and a bunch of other keys have to come down with it. And I'm not even pressing very hard. You don't want to really squish it down because that can make it go down even if you do have a problem with your flute. This key as well, and obviously this key. This F sharp key here tends to always be causing problems. So you really want to make sure that you get a checkup on your flute about every year. If you're not playing as much, you can maybe do longer than a year, but if your low notes are not speaking, this is kind of the first indicator that there's something wrong with your flute. Well, I hope this helped you. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll try to get back to you and come up with the best answer that I possibly can. Like I said, I'm a flute player on YouTube, so if you play the flute and you're interested in learning more about the flute or watching my performance videos, it would be greatly appreciated if you could subscribe. If you'd like to learn more about me, my website is devonflute.com. I also teach lessons online, so if you're looking for a person to get some advice from, please be sure to go to devonflute.com/lessons. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye.